This is the Bitcoin 1 month overview reading for the month of May 2024. It's currently April 14th, 2024, 5:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Bitcoin at the time of this reading is currently $63,854.05. That's USD. And the shuffle video that we're playing for you in the lower left corner was created on March 9th, 2024 at 6:38 p.m. Eastern Time. The overall theme and behavior for Bitcoin in May, there's a significant cash out opportunity. Generally, you see quite a bit of sideways rotation, but also there's usually the sideways rotation is along a key support level, and this will be on like at least a 1 month scale, so a multi-day scale chart, a key support level that we rotate sideways on pretty notably throughout the month. However, there's also with the Ace of Discs, the Princess of Discs, there's also a lot of price change at one point into or out of the sideways rotation along that support. Now, combine that with the Worry card, which is the decline to and through multi-day support to meet another multi-day support and then rotate sideways along that. You combine those two together, my sense is that there's probably a cash out opportunity at a high end, like as far as like a multi-day scale, and then probably also at a low. There's a lot of indication that we have a lowest low this month for Bitcoin. I was seeing a pretty good opportunity in April, around the 21st, 22nd, and then there's like this move to the upside in early April, followed by a sharp decline into lows there. Behavior around the highest high, we have a decline out of the highest high that offers opportunity to open up a long position, indicating that we'll see the price level of the high at least twice, possibly a higher price level the second time, like it'll break through it and go higher the second time, because when you decline off the high, opportunity to then open a long position because we return back to that price level, right? Behavior around the lowest low, there's a new high within close time proximity to the lowest low for the month. There's also probably two lows. It's possible there's two lows or it's a new high of some sort on a multi-day scale within close time proximity to the low. Now, I'm going to get into timing the highest highs and the lowest lows, and then we'll get into the day-by-day chart behavior, as well as getting into the trades that we see. But before we get into that, I just want to make sure everybody's aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. You go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, and 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of these charities, or pick a charity of your choosing as long as you're paying 5% forward, and then 5% should be sent back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise or you can use YouTube tips, and that leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it. All right, so here on the first, we have a prominent move higher on a multi-day scale, followed by a full retracement. It creates a peak that'll stand out on a 1 month chart scale. And then out of that full retracement, on the second, there's a big move to the upside, a breakout, probably through whatever the price level was that we reversed that on the first. We break out through that into a highest high on the third, and then there's a notable decline from that highest high into a lowest low thus far on the fourth. We have a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a multi-day scale, followed by a decline through key support on a multi-day scale into that low. And then there's a pretty huge move out of that low into the fifth, where we have an overbought, into probably the cusp of the fifth, sixth, or early in the sixth, where we have an overbought crest on a multi-day scale that we sell off from through multiple support levels. So it's a little tricky, and it's Mercury retrograde, so I want to make sure there's a couple of ways that this could go. So we could have this overbought crest here, like this failed attempt to break the key resistance is overbought crest, and then we sell it off through multiple supports into this lowest low with a big move higher into an attempt to establish support at a highest high again, or possibly like the highest high. Like if it's either going to be the same high as the third or a higher one, in other words. That's one way that it could go, or the overbought crest could be here. We could just decline into this big move to the upside into this high here, where we then sell off through multiple support levels. So there's either a notable decline on the sixth off of a highest high, or there's sideways rotation attempting to establish support there near the high on the sixth. On the seventh, we have another important trade opportunity I'm going to talk about in more detail in the paid version. We have a rally along a diagonal trend line. We break through, it ends with a fast sudden move higher and then a breakdown through the diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. And then that decline increases with momentum moving forward into there's probably a deep low in here on the 9th. It could be another lowest low, but either not necessarily. In any case, it's going to be like a steep low or a deep low that'll stand out. So we decline, like increasing with momentum moving forward into a trough, and then there's a pop and a drop into a low. Notable reversal off that low takes us to a prominent peak on the cusp of the 10th, 11th. It's a prominent peak on a 1 month scale. Looks like probably a rally that increases with momentum moving forward into that peak there on the cusp of the 10th, 11th. And then that unicursal there indicates probably a pretty sharp drop, either off of the peak on the 11th into a trough there on the 12th, or it's after that peak on the 11th. We have like this 3 pokes through the same trend line, followed by a sharp drop off of that third poke on the 12th, and that sharp drop would, after creating another peak, would take place there on the 12th. Trough early in the day on the 13th within a period of erratic behavior back and forth through the same price level there. We also revisit a crest somewhere between the 13th and 14th, 15th, somewhere in there, which is very likely. It could be like a revisiting of highs, or it's just a prominent peak that'll stand out. Like there's a lot of like erratic behavior going on here because we have these troughs here on the 13th, 14th, and 15th, but we also have prominent peaks on the 13th, 14th, 15th. So there's going to be a lot of wild behavior back and forth here, kind of starting with this sharp drop probably. Fast sudden move higher off the 14th, the trough of the 14th into that peak, and then an unexpected move to the upside, looks like off of the trough early in the day on the 15th. All right, so we talked about the highest highs. I'm going to get into the lowest lows in just a sec, but before we do that, let's take a look and check out how we're doing for April thus far. All right, so we had this high that we fell off from on the first into the second, and then we popped back to a high there on the third. Might be a day behind here. A little bit of a drop, and then another peak there on the 4th, 5th. And then we have that cross-reading congruency for the April high card there on the 7th, and it looks like that probably ended up being what indicated the high in this case, which it doesn't always do that with the cross-reading congruencies, but in this case it did. So it looks like that ended up being the high. Trough on the 10th, and on the 12th I have the 11th, the 10th and the 11th, but the 10th and 12th. Sequence of events looks pretty solid. Looks like we're a day off on the highs so far. But really, what we're most interested in is this period of time over here on the 21st, 22nd, which looks like a pretty good multi-month, maybe even possibly multi-year buy opportunity. If it's not, it seems like looking at the May reading now, which I didn't have the opportunity to look at when I was doing the April one, hadn't gotten to it yet, but it looks like there may be a lower price level here in May, or like the same low of some kind that we saw in April. But we very likely have a lowest low there on a one-year chart scale, at least thus far, on the cusp of May and June, or like in the last week of May, or a little bit before that, right around here. So pretty solid, especially considering that the April reading was created on February 2nd, 2024 at 9:09 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, this is a great way to do it, guys. You go to our services, SO Meta Posts, scroll down through monthly subscription, click here to order, and you can subscribe to any one of these tickers or crypto individually. We do them every month on a monthly basis, or you can subscribe for the most popular subscription. We have the all-paid monthly subscription, which gives you access to the paid version of all of these, as well as the one-off monthlies that we do. Like in April, we had Theta, and we had Link, and then May we're gonna have Ethereum, we're gonna have Theta, possibly Gold. We'll see if I get to it. So you would have the access to the paid version of all those. And what you get in the paid version, guys, is information you can't find anywhere else before it actually takes place in real time. You get the timing of the highest highs and the lowest lows. Now you have to keep in mind the sequence of events remains accurate. Sometimes it's plus or minus a day here or there. So you want to follow the sequence of events and look for the general timing for that, like that day plus or minus you're looking for. And we give you a specific type of chart behavior to look for as far as entry and exit into and out of those trades. So there's a lot of really helpful information there for somebody that probably already knows how to trade. But you want to make sure that you're not trading price levels. You want to be sure that you're trading timing and sequence of events. It's really, really important. Much appreciation to everybody that goes and does that. Most popular subscription on the channel. I definitely know the name of everybody that does that because they're huge supporters of the channel. And thank you again for everybody that does that. And let's get back into it. Yeah, okay, so on the 16th, we very likely have our lowest low for the month thus far. Very likely lower than the low of the 4th, very likely, and probably lower than the 9th or the lows around the 14th. This is probably our lowest low thus far, and there's a crest that we sell off from to and through support. We do a U-shape reversal below that support, come back and reuse it as support. And then on the 17th, there's a decline that'll stand out on a 1-month scale that takes us to revisit a support level that was important on at least a 1-month scale, probably on a 1-year chart. Sideways rotation or some sort of tricky back and forth behavior here with the prudence card. Sometimes there's multiple false tops or bottoms or whipsaw action, but you want to be very careful not to make the wrong kind of trade here on the 18th. And then we see the lowest low again. It's probably the same low as the 16th. It might be lower. It's either the same low as the 16th or it's going to be a lower one there on the 19th. But we have a prominent peak that forms around that low where we have this move higher through key resistance. We stay above it briefly, break back down through it with a full retracement. So we probably see the low for the day of the 19th, probably twice on the 19th. There's a prominent peak on the 20th and a sharp drop or bearish price swings there on the 20th with a notable trade opportunity. Again, we'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. Another peak on a 1-month scale there early in the day on the 21st, and an important range is highlighted. And then we have some sort of fake out or shakeout, intentional fake out or shakeout on the 22nd. So be very careful whatever actually takes place over there. Be very careful not to do like the impulsive thing that they're trying to get you to do with that movement. On the 23rd, we have an important resistance level that's highlighted on a multi-day scale that we failed to break through many times before. There's a bit of a rally into the 21st, but that rally is halted by a sharp decline through key support on a multi-day scale into a lowest low. And this is very likely where we have the lowest low period for the month. This will be the lowest, like when the month ends, this will be the lowest price level most likely, and there's a huge move from that low to the upside on the 25th, possibly into another high, but it'll be a lot of price movement there, taking us to a key resistance level on a multi-day scale or possibly even on a 1-year chart scale that we then decline pretty hard from on the 26th. Big move back up on the 27th. Yeah, big move back up on the 27th. It's almost like the move continues from the 27th into the 28th, and we go from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range, like taking us to a prominent peak again there on the 28th on a 1-month scale. And then we do this sideways fluctuating decline off of that peak on the 29th. There might even be a sharp drop at the end of the day on the 26th after that, or 28th after that rally. Maybe a sharp drop at the end of the day on the 28th after that rally. And then on the 30th, we have an important support level on a 1-year chart scale that's highlighted here. And usually there's some sort of support there that can be relied upon in the case with the Emperor card, some sort of stable foundation. And we do some sideways fluidity along support on the 31st, equal amounts of bulls and bear inflow and outflow. Sometimes that's wide swings, ending up kind of sideways. Sometimes it's a narrow range, but for the most part, you usually are ending up sideways with the change card. The sneak preview for the following month of June, we have sideways rotation establishing support along key support level on a 1-year chart scale, followed by a big move higher on a multi-day scale, and more sideways rotation to establish support at a higher price level at some point there in June. Yeah, and we have the June card here, or the early June card taking place in the end of May. This is probably a really big move. We might come back to highs here at the end of the month. It's a possibility, or it's a move that takes us back into highs in June. Probably that's more likely what it is. It starts there at the end of the month. It continues into June probably. But with that said, that's Bitcoin for May 2024. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. As always, make sure to subscribe. Really helps out the channel. But most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You know where to go. You know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. Love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'll see you angel investors on the Discord channel. And stay tuned if you got the paid version.